Hello, everybody. This is. Sorry. Hello, everybody. This is Dwayne Lester, host of the Trio Podcast. Today, I have
Dr. Robert Wallace.
as our special guest for today. Um, I don't expect him not to. To my knowledge, he's pretty famous around here, but some may not know. Can you please kind of tell us about yourself and your connection to Trio and McMillan?
Okay. Um, I came to McMurray as a professor in 1990, so this is like my 35th slash 36th year,
Yes.
and so been here for quite a while, over 3 decades. I assume you weren't born then, 1990.
Yeah, no, I was born in 2005.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I'd been here a few years before you were born. So
I think I'm not good at math, but that's like 15 years.
yeah. So yeah, it's but somebody like Dr. Thompson was my student, so that's how long I've been around. Not that she's that old, but that's
Yes,
how long I've
says
been around.
a lot.
Yeah, and Dr. Sechrist was my student. Dr. Hollingsworth was my student. So there've been a lot of people.
If I'm honest, you don't look or even seem like someone who could be in a black and white photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know.
Did you want me to talk more about my biography, or we'll get into that in a little while?
I think a little bit more about
Well, I admire Trio, the program, because I was a first gen college student, and I think that's kind of one of the connections I have to Trio. But I grew up in a little town up in the Panhandle of Texas, and I ended up going to Texas Tech to go to undergraduate, and I feel I don't think I think my father was college bound. I know my mother would have never been college bound, but they end up having my older sister, and that kind of put a little kibosh on him going to college. Even though I'm not sure he was, would have survived college anyway. So definitely, it was on my radar to go to college, but I end up. I think my sister probably had graduated before I had, but we both were like the first two out of our family from both sides, mother and father's side, to graduated from college.
Okay. You said you went to Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall, that's mainly like a technical school.
Well, it's like let's say UT Austin. I mean, it's a large university. They still use tech in their name, but I guess you would say they were strong in engineering, but they literally had every discipline imaginable that you wanted to major in.
That's something I honestly didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at one time the technology was a feature, but now it's kind of passe, but they kept it.
Well, hey, it's brain that I can't talk apparently. It's definitely brain recognizability.
Mm-hmm.
My next question is, if we look at you are a teacher of criminal sociology.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of what brought you into the field is like something you like studying.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dr. Wall here is pretty big on the, let's say, sex crimes in criminology. It's like, what did you enjoy studying?
So, Dwayne, let's say you had met me at age 18. Like, are you 18, 19 right now?
19.
Let's say if you'd met me when you're if I'd been your age, um, there is no way in the world I would have predicted, what I was going to do and what I was going to become. So it kind of, in a way, it's some sense of stumbling. I'm at the large state school, Texas Tech, um, and I guess if you'd met me at 18, I would have said I was interested in helping people, and that would be about as broad as I would have taken it.
And that's kind of been my goal too.
So I was not, I had taken an intro to sociology class this. I hadn't, whoa, I think I want to major in this, but I was still interested in helping people. I don't think at the time that Texas Tech would have had a social work program. And so I ended up majoring in, it was like a home economics division, but it was like in a family relations, family studies section. So it's pretty broad in terms of that, but I thought it would be kind of the avenue to literally kind of end up working with people. Now, out of that, finish, and probably my senior year, I got interested in working with the elderly. And I thought, that was kind of the path to really help people, and worked in a retirement facility, long-term care facility in Lubbock, and also knew I wanted to go to graduate school to continue my education. So finished up in tech, spent a couple of years working there, and then took off to go to Miami of Ohio, near Oxford, or it's near Cincinnati, Ohio, to go to graduate school. They had a master's in gerontological studies, which is the study of the elderly. And that was a good fit there for me. My uh, current partner, wife, was also a graduate student there, so we met each other at Miami of Ohio. The most important thing in terms of the kind of the serendipity of my journey is that gerontology department was housed in the sociology department. And guess what?
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean,
There was like
that's
the
where,
intersection there.
now if you'd met me like 24, 23, I would have said, I know exactly, what I want to do. And sociology is my discipline, my field. And especially a kid from Texas moving to Ohio, continued on with this Texas accent, kind of being an outsider in another state, kind of definitely kind of fostered that particular thing. But my wife and I, we married in that area, moved to Cleveland, Ohio. We both were able to get jobs working in kind of fields of aging, and we both. She was at a medical school, and I was at a research firm, and we both about 3 or 4 years later go, I think I'm just as smart as all the PhDs that I'm working with. I think it's time to go back to graduate school. And that's when we go back to graduate school. And at that time, I am pure Soc. I would not have applied to any other department that was not pure Soc. So by then, I definitely knew I wanted to be a sociologist. And my wife was interested in still kind of adult ed, kind of gerontology stuff. We were able to find a graduate program that literally would be able to kind of take both of our interests in mind. And we finish up there in 1990, and that's, guess what, when we moved to this amazing place called McMurray, which I had friends from high school that had gone to McMurray. And just quick bio also is that I realized that in a large state school, it was interesting, but it did not penetrate, who I am. And I do think that if I'd had not, if I'd had a Robert Wallace when I was 18, I would have been able to solve a lot of my not problems, but issues in terms of what I wanted to do. And I didn't have that thing in the large state school that I've tried to literally foster, in 3 decades here in McMurray.
I think kind of get what's going down here. My only experience happened to a pretty big high school, and even then, having like one-on-one connections or feeling like someone was actually going to help you, that was few and far between.
Yeah, but ever since when we met, you were criminology. I think if 18, I wouldn't have. I don't know. Where my head is. You were already, and then you come to a small college, and then things. It just dovetails much easier in terms of that thing, and then suddenly you go, yeah, I can see myself in that particular area.
Yeah, I get that.
And just as you said, Dr. Wall, you could think of other sociologists or criminologists in our department that's the benefit of being at a small college.
I agree. I do. This is a listener thing, but you brought it up. Um, I'm gonna butcher the name, try to put it out there. It's in until Ology instead of old people. I feel obligated to ask, how has it helped you as you've gotten
Are you saying that I'm not 18?
I'm just saying it can be implied.
um, Probably pretty well, um, considering that both, my wife and I are both kind of have that kind of background in terms of education. Um, I think uh, having that background, uh, you're aware of all these different kind of patterns of aging, which is kind of what it is. And um, I think we possibly both have been pretty conscious about the importance of diet, activity, doing, in terms of possibly influencing longevity, may not. I think my wife is getting ready to retire this year, and I'm going to retire next year. And I think even that of knowing uh, going older, retiring, and we're much more conscious about the next stage. And I think it comes back to that in terms of you don't want to retire too late when you want to retire kind of when not at your peak, but when you're ready to move on. And I think knowing those kind of stories have really kind of helped us, and that we both feel very comfortable in terms of kind of the next stage in life.
Okay. Then I think. Okay, so here's my next question. I know we were trying to do episode with you the week before, but the entire department was held on the
Yeah.
conference.
Hmm.
If you don't mind me asking, if you're able, I don't know if you're saying EDAs or anything, but do you mind kind of letting us in on what you talked about in the conference?
Yeah. Again, since I've a long time, um, I I will talk about criminology here in a minute, but let me stay with sociology because sociology is very big on. We have a national professional association, the American Sociological Association, and sociology, I think, more than other disciplines, also has really strong regional professional associations. I used to be a member of the Midwest. I've been a member of the Eastern Sociological Society. Now I'm a member of the Southern Sociological Society. But in this particular region, also, we have the Southwestern Social Science Association, and um, that I've been a member of that probably for over a quarter of a century. And
That's really good.
yeah, yeah, and but that has allowed me to be very in that social science association. There are different affiliates, and guess what? We have the Southwestern Sociological Association, and so it's a magnet of sociologists in Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado. We were in Nevada, New Mexico, Louisiana. So in term on the regional side. So we meet every May or every March, usually March or April, and we'll shoot. I think next year it's in Nashville. What I really like about the group is that it's very undergraduate as well as graduate student focused. And so we took four students of ours to Nevada, to Las Vegas, to this particular conference, and I think all four presented some type of research that they were literally working on. Now, other conferences would not have that kind of being that open to undergraduate and graduate students, but yeah, to me, it's been just really rewarding. I've been probably 2000 during COVID 2019 2021. I was elected to be president of the Southwestern Sociological Association, and just this year, Dr. Seacrest had that particular role as being president. So it's been a good fit for McMurray, and they have a lot of state schools that are there, but also a lot of small liberal arts colleges. So it's been a good fit for us and very student friendly.
That's good. I don't know a lot about that. I'll admit, freshman students to kind of get into the groove of everything. But from my knowledge of groups, it's really good that students are allowed to have that time to present. Like in my experience, specific in class, or I've also been away from now and again, being able to stand on stage and talk
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
difficult. But it gets easier the more you do it.
I completely agree. And um, I went to one of the sessions where one of our students was presenting, and I know that he was extremely nervous, but you would not tell by his presentation, which is again, he was able to kind of, he knew what he had to do professionally and then stood up and did it. So it's kind of rewarding to kind of see that. But that first experience, Dwayne will always be with him like, oh my gosh, that was the first time I ever presented in front of the public. And a lot of the students that become members of the Southwestern Social Science Association stay with it for their whole lives because it was such a formidable time in their career if they could stay maybe in academia.
That's good.
So maybe you'll be able to go with us to Nashville next year.
Come on, that sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. And just, college stuff. Without getting into politics, assuming the world doesn't end in the next, like, couple of months, I suppose I'll probably try.
Yeah, well, I'll hold you to that, and then maybe we'll. Because the other thing is that I've probably done about 8 different papers with students where we collaborated, and so maybe we'll get together and we'll collaborate on something next year, and you can present it.
That sounds like fun. Um, you did say you plan to retire,
Yeah.
and with us, how has your experience been teaching at economics? Kind of like, has it shaped your perspective? And mainly, bleh, what drives you to work with students?
Um, One is that if I go back to when I go, whoa, sociology is my field, and I knew that's what I wanted. I found myself in it, and then saw myself as a professor. When I came out, finished up like a PhD, I knew I did not want to go to a large state university. I wanted to come to literally a place like McMurray that was small, that I knew in terms of kind of a teaching intensive environment where you can have, significant impact on students. And kind of the backstory of your question is that literally I have 35 years of literally doing that, and I can probably identify 100 Dwaynes that I've worked with, and and I'm complimenting you. That uh, it's you and hundreds of other students that you get to interact with that get you up in the morning, that make you go, whoa, I tried that last time and it didn't work. I think maybe if I just tweak it, I'll be able to get the information across in a different way. So it means constant evolving. Our teaching is like more of an art than it's science per se, and so
Makes sense.
I never. Uh, while I'm getting ready to retire, it's not like I'm retiring because I'm just burnt out. It's just back to the gerontology kind of. It's time to move on, but it's been just a rewarding 3 decades.
That's good. I don't think I know a lot of people who can confidently say this one job I've had for the past 3 decades has been amazing.
Yeah, which is I've I would say to just everybody like listening or whatever that um, not everybody can replicate what I've been at. Because you've got to go to graduate school, you have to get terminally qualified. There's a lot of hurdles that have to do, but
You have to live in Ohio for one.
yeah, yeah, and in New York, and then come back to Texas. But you go, and if you can get this kind of job, that um, it 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 gives much more than it takes, uh, and and not too many jobs are like that. Where you go, uh, you know, you, on the intellectual side, you just never stop because it's something's always coming up. Thinking, oh my gosh, here's Dwayne, and something's going. You will pull things out and do things, and so it means I'm just never bored because something's always coming up. Uh, Another thing is that I'm not a high school teacher, which is but I'm getting Dwayne when he's 18, and he's declared criminology as his major, and in 3 or 4 years, he's going to come out with a credential that possibly is going to launch him into a career. And that's a because I'm getting you, meaning you and others that are at this kind of ripe time of literally, peak decisions. And I can always say to myself, I want to be able to give Dwayne what I didn't get when I was 18 or 20. And so it makes it very interesting.
I think that's really swell. I'd say since you are going to retire, don't get fans fuss about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I know some people are crying out of agony knowing that, but is there anything? I think you kind of touched on it before, but is there anything in specific that you're gonna miss, or something that you're looking forward to once you get over that hurdle?
Um, I have not contemplated that. Uh, I, well, a student asked me and when we were at the conference about, kind of similar, what would I miss? And, going back to kind of, because you prompted me a minute ago about thinking about using kind of aging to literally think about the next stage. I've said something to her like, my whole life has been about fulfilling assignments. And there's something liberating about doing that, but it's also something liberating about letting that go. And therefore, I do not have to worry about grading 30 posts on Sunday morning, or, what am I going to do at 9 o'clock on Monday, and fulfill those assignments because I take them very, responsibly. But it's kind of nice to be able to, I think, and come see me in a couple of years. That I think it'll be kind of nice to just breathe on the weekend and not worrying about what am I going to do. I've got to. Sorry, I have to go grade. I have to go worry about this syllabus, and I do think being able to literally kind of let that go by the side. If you'd asked me when I'm 50, I would not have been able to even articulate that. But in my age now, when I'm definitely on the transition, I see the liberation of kind of setting those assignments aside and going off and doing other things according to my time schedule.
I think I really do kind of understand that as a student here, and
Yeah.
being such like a however old I was when I got into school, sometimes having to kind of conform to those assignments or saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I can't go out and go to I don't know, I can't go to ACB at 12 o'clock in the morning. I have class at 2." It's always tried to kind of get my assignments done and just have the weekends, but that's impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's really liberating just existing without having a deadline.
Yeah. In terms of, we have a real good friend, and they've been retired probably about 5 years. And her comment was, "Every day is Saturday," and that's kind of a comforting thought that every day is kind of like a weekend, even though it may be a Tuesday, but you can literally kind of fashion the day in terms of what you want to do rather than the requirements of a job or what other people think you should be doing. So I think, as I said, in 2 years, come see me, but I think it'll be kind of just a release and being able to do things in terms of how we would like to do it. If our That's the other thing, aging wise, if our health holds up. But we hope, yeah.
It makes sense, and I do kind of want to touch on what you just said there. Being able to do things without worrying about other people's expectations. Your sociology, breaking it down simply, state of society. I know for a fact that how other people view you is pretty much always going to weigh down decisions. At least in my opinion. Is there any like you would recommend to kind of be able to, I want to say, overcome that kind of stigma?
What was the stigma?
The whole kind of trying to abide by other people's expectations or
Um,
thoughts,
um,
or well, how society
yeah,
views
yeah.
you.
Well, I think it's good to have it, those expectations, but it's also good to know kind of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you balance out kind of my own individuality with these expectations that come from society. So I felt pretty good about who I am, and then and I'm also aware of particular expectations, and so I've always been able to kind of never feel overwhelmed by society's expectations, but I know that they're there and they actually influence me to aspire and do different things. But I see them kind of a hybrid or symbiotic to some extent. So I'm not too far. What sociologists say would be other directed, which is the societal, and the other phrase is that we're more inner directed. So I think I've been able to kind of balance the inner directedness of what I want, who I am, with the external world influencing what I should be doing.
Okay. I was personally hoping to have like a catch-all exist without answer, but
Yeah,
that's
no,
fair.
as a sociologist, there's just no way I can escape it. That external world, but I can try to become much more inner directed as possible. But it's always there. But we need to be conscious of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Criminality, man. I keep saying that a lot.
Yeah.
But from what I'm learning right now, it's just existing as a college student. I'm learning there's a lot of duality for things
Yeah.
where you kind of can't have one thing without the other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the other thing really, really sucks.
Yep.
But you kind of have to deal with it to
Mhm.
get to the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in terms of my career, um, being a professor, you have an enormous amount of discretionary aspects, academic freedom, um, and not every position has that, or career or job. So on the professor side, it's amazing. Even though I walk in a classroom and there are 30 people there, who are they but my audience responding to what I'm literally doing? So I'm constantly aware of that, but I've been able to, as a professor, be able to mold literally what they're actually experiencing. So it's, you said the hybrid, the kind of duality. It's really exciting.
I grab what? I can dig that. Didn't want to keep you too long. As we wrap up here, is there any advice or lesson you would really want to impart on the audience, students, even though the faculty members who may be watching?
Um, on the student side, I, uh, I I hope they're at small colleges, you know, um, and if you are here at McMurray, or in a small college, I say you've made a better choice than I did when I was 18, and then take advantage of it. The relationships that we have, you know, it just doesn't happen everywhere, and as a student, take advantage. I mean, my advice would be, yes, you can bond with your students, but you're in an environment of 18 to 22 to literally change your trajectory on a career, and take advantage of those faculty members that you interact with, because they can literally provide you a path forward, but you got to be able to take advantage of that particular aspect. So that would be my advice. Don't get overwhelmed by the situation, but try to embrace it, and in some sense of step outside of your comfort zone and try to become like the professor to some extent. And I've had students over the years that some were very student focused and some were more professor focused. And the more professor focused students are it's going to enhance their career because they're thinking in an aspirational way in terms of where they want to go and where they want to, and they take advantage of that. So my recommendation is definitely take advantage of that.
Okay. Then, if I'm understanding correctly, gonna try repeating verbatim and everything, essentially take advantage of the opportunities that are presented, whether that be faculty members, your professors, or maybe Kyle from down the street
Yep.
has some really good plays to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, then I'll start wrapping it up here. It's been a pleasure to talk with you today, Dr. Wall.
Yeah,
Dr. Wallace, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
These are kind of similar.
Yeah, yeah.
But I hope you have a great day. And I
Okay.
hope when you do retire, you get you get a McMurray size cake, because that would be amazing.
Who knows?
Funny.
But yeah, we'll get together in a couple of years and we'll maybe do this again because I didn't get to talk about how did I get to criminology, but that's a whole other 30 minutes. So, but maybe we can do another podcast.
Well, you got another year,
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
true. Yeah,
we can
we're
revisit.
looking to it my last year, and maybe you can make that cake.
I can make an attempt.
Great, thank you. Enjoyed talking to you.
No problem. I enjoy talking to you as well.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
I was doing this.